up, guys? It's Vic the Ninja Closer. I am here with an awesome life coach, Crystal Agyei. She's a coach for BIPOC, and she's going to explain to us what that means, and she's going to dive deep into her business and why she does what she does. Crystal is a personal friend of mine, so I'm really excited to be on this interview with her. How are you doing, Crystal?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited. Wee bit nervous, but we're gonna have fun.
There is no
But thank you
need
for
to be
having
nervous
me.
whatsoever. No
I just
need.
I know the privilege of being in other people's audiences, so I just want to make sure. I just always feel that I want to give a good message and make sure your audience gets something out of it. So it's like just, but all fun.
Perfect, perfect. So tell us a little bit about you, like just who you are.
Sure. So where do I start? So like you said, I'm a life coach for BIPOC. For those who don't know what BIPOC stands for, it's Black, Indigenous, and People of Color. My aim is to, oh wait, can I swear, by the
Do
way?
what you got to do.
Okay, cool. Because my aim is to liberate minds and live a fucking fulfilling life, because I feel like that's what it's all about. And we work through whatever their goals or results or issues going through, and specifically creating a space that addresses internalized oppression as it pertains to white culture and white supremacy. Because I feel like there's a lot of the spaces to becoming more quote woke, but really getting educated on what that looks like in the indirect and direct ways, and the associated traumas that is comes with racism and things like that, like big T's and little T's. So that is the aim of my work. My first career was a pediatric critical care physician, which is how I met Victor. And I decided to leave medicine. I'm leaving medicine in a couple of months, actually, to pursue life coaching fully. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm a physician turned life coach, becoming full-time entrepreneur. I'm a mom. I'm Latina, and I am just super excited for this work and just getting out there and pursuing my true calling.
Awesome. So you mentioned you're a physician, and that's how I know you, but
Mhm.
how was that switch? Like, how did you come to that switch in your head? Like, I'm done with physician, I'm done with medicine. Let's jump into helping people.
So I want to give this as concise because it's been a lot of inner work that had to happen.
Mm.
So I how I came into choosing medicine, it was more of a choice of obligation rather than passion. Um, and I know that's occurred with a lot of professionals that their parents told them to do something, and you just kind of just followed their recommendations, which was all well intended at the time, but you know how you just keep going through the motions and you're not really finding that fulfillment. And I literally had always felt that. And a couple of months before my graduation from med school, I was on the phone with my brother, like in tears, like, I know I'm supposed to help people. I just don't think medicine is the way I'm supposed to do it. And he's like, you're months away from graduation. You have this amount of debt, like might as well at least complete the degree and then we'll figure out what happens later. And I just had that thought and I just kind of put it to the side and just kept going. As like, I guess this is what it is. Maybe I'll feel better once I become an attending, once I have the big girl job. Then the big girl job came and I was married and I was about to expect a baby and I just still didn't feel fulfilled. And I actually, through training, I would get in heated discussions with my husband, but like, I think something's missing. I'm not sure what it is, but like, there's something that's my potential is like completely not touched at all. And it was kind of like, oh, you're distracting yourself, like just focus on medicine. You're just confusing yourself basically. And all well intended, out of love, of course, but you always know your true inner desires, even though you can't put a label or have language for it, which that's when it becomes difficult. um, but for whatever reason, the universe introduced me to the concept of life coach. I was like, what the heck is that? And I had hired a life coach. I was going through a hard time. I was in a long distance marriage. was a full-time position. I was by myself. I didn't really have any friends. I was in a new state, and it was difficult for me. So there was a lot of emotions, and I knew I didn't want to feel this and mother my child in this energy. So I found this life coach that I connected with on Instagram. So Instagram marketing works, just FYI.
Definitely does.
And really was able to like have a renowned energy for life. And then a couple months later, I got introduced to the concept of getting certified as a life coach. And I was like, You know what? I think I'm going to do it." And on the day that I decided that I wanted to do it, I had full tears of like gratitude, and I felt this peace of like, oh, this is what it's supposed to feel like when you know what you want to do. And like, I had never felt that ever. And I actually recorded myself crying when I had signed up for certification. At the time, I didn't think I was going to leave medicine. At the time, I just knew that life coaching was the outlet that I was supposed to pursue. And then as time went on, and as I was like going through medicine and having these many tantrums of mental tantrums of like, I don't want to be here. Like, this is not what I want to spend my energy on. And then I would be on these night shifts where I wouldn't see my daughter for 3 days in a row because I'm on nights. I'm like, I really don't like night shift. Like, why can't I have a job that like I can just sleep in my own bed and then see my daughter in the morning? Or just noticing like different things I was picking up at work that was like, oh, I actually don't like doing that. Like, how can I create a life where I can just do what I want to do? And that might seem like, oh, she just wants to have like a cush life, but it's actually no, like actually figuring out what do you want to have in your life and create that intentionally, and what you don't want in your life and remove that slowly but surely. And then I just found like my days were filled with like great saves or patients doing better, and it was just wasn't like the same feeling that I would have when I would connect the dots for a client one to one, and just seeing that like everything from my training from medicine, from like my leadership style with strategizing and explaining physiology with and critical care, that all prepared me for coaching, because my style is just completely different than other coaches because I have this critical care experience. So it was kind of like, oh, that just led me to this path. And even like obviously certifications and things like that cost money. So it's like this just prepped me to be prepared for this. And I just found myself being more fulfilled in the coaching and just wanting to spend more time on my business and coaching, even though it's been very trying and difficult
Yeah.
and it brings up a lot of stuff, but it's like 110% worth it. It was basically like, actually, this just isn't what I want to do. And I had to go through a period of like grief and shame and grieving my physician identity, because I had spent so much time, over 10 years, building this physician identity and finally getting to the top of the mountain, and then deciding like, oh, I guess fuck, I have to go climb another mountain now. And some people want to just park and camp out on top of the mountain and be fine, which is fine for some people, but it would have been harder for me to camp out than to just climb
Yeah.
the next one. So that was like a long-winded
Yeah, for sure.
answer, but that's basically how I came to. But even it does um what do I want to say, like the process of becoming a new identity, of shaving off for old one, like what my process of getting rid of my physician identity and stepping into the coaching identity was not as streamlined as like, oh, okay, I'm just going to be a life coach now. It's like that shame, that doubt, that like feeling of embarrassment, but also grieving like, oh, I was this person I associated myself and I got my confidence and whatnot, everything from this previous identity. And now I have to literally almost like be reborn and then form into something that I have no example of that either in my life, and like create that for myself and let go of what it means to be a physician and define for myself what it means to be a coach. And it was just it was surprisingly it was a little sad, like to have to let that go after all that work, but then also just doing the work to get to a place of gratitude and like, no, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. You talk about, how being a physician has helped you become a life coach, and the different
Mhm.
the different ways that you triage a problem helps with life coaching as well, just because of your
Right.
background. um, I understand that coming from, you know, where I'm at in my background in medicine and
Hmm.
respiratory and going into what I'm doing now. I get to see things a little differently and get to curate a little different solutions to a problem. And
Yeah.
on that vein of curating, like, you're now able to curate yourself a new life, a lifestyle that isn't by someone, nobody's putting expectations on you to be a certain thing.
Mhm.
There's no, you know, there's none of that, I need to please this person, so let me do this. Now you're stripping all of that away and saying, okay, let me
Mhm.
curate what I want in my life, what elements I want. It's like cooking a dinner, right? It's like, okay,
Mhm.
I want to eat that. I'm not a child anymore.
Mhm.
I don't have to eat everything on my plate. I can put what's on my
Mhm.
plate that I like. And
Mhm.
I love that. I love that. That's part of the reason why I wanted to get you on this interview, because I love the fact that you're saying, I was here, I was at the pinnacle, and now let me just back all that down and figure out what I really want to do. It's crazy. Like, it's crazy. But you
Yeah,
have to kind of be
like bare
crazy.
bones. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like bare, like my own husband is like, he literally just told me 2 days ago. He's like, yeah, I would not do what you're doing. He's like, no, I'm not that kind of person.
Yeah.
I would not be an entrepreneur. I was like, don't worry, I got it. Like it's fun, but it's hard. But it's, we choose it. Entrepreneurs choose it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you're a newer mom. So
Hmm. Newer,
can
yeah.
you,
She's 2.
yeah, she's two. C- Can you
Yeah.
can you dive into what that was like making that transition while, because I met you and you were very pregnant,
I was
and then
pregnant. Yeah.
and then you had your kid, and then you come through this transformation in your life. How has that been, with your child and moving that along with your child?
She really helped me solidify my decision in pursuing what I wanted, because a big part of my mission and vision is to increase representation until it's the standard and not a unicorn occurrence. And not only representation of color of skin and race, but more of like ways of living. And I wanted, and I mentioned that because when I was growing up, I really I had a limited perspective on what life was, what adulting looked like, or what it was supposed to look like, or even um, I had this dream of being a poet and a public speaker, but like I didn't really see anyone doing that that looked like me. So I don't want her to grow up in that same kind of world. I want her to see every different version possible of what someone can look like, what they want to do, what they think, and how they live their life. So as I was pursuing this, it was like, no, I am the example that she will need, that you can build something for a long period of time and think you're invested in it and decide it's not for you and move on to the next thing. That thing that you built doesn't mean that you need to make that your prison. Like you can just move on to the next thing. This my way, my journey is a different representation of what it can look like. So when she was born, like I remember breastfeeding her and being on like a physician entrepreneur conference, and then going on night shift that day. Like I wouldn't recommend having so many things going on at the same time. Like literally, it was long distance marriage. I was getting my certification in life coaching. I was taking 2 MBA classes online, and then full time position. So it was quite a bit, but it was like my why was so solid. I'm like,
Mhm.
this is what I'm fucking doing, and this is how I'm gonna do it. And she was really helped me. Like when I look at her, I want to make sure someone like her is doing 5, 10 different things that she can choose from,
Mhm.
and not just like, oh, here's the first person of whatever race or culture that is the CEO of this company. Like, no, it's like not going to be newsworthy anymore. It's just going to
Right.
be a standard thing.
Right. And I mean, we both have mixed race children. So I think it's super important to, as their parent, set up a world that is limitless for them, and what
Mhm.
they can accomplish and what they can do, but also in their mindset of, all right,
Mhm.
now I know that I can do this because my dad stopped doing this and did this. Or in your case, my mom stopped doing this and decided to do this. So I know that no matter what goes on in my life, I can always
Right.
pivot but pivot to something better. And I think that's where we
Right.
get stuck. A lot of us get stuck in that. This is who I am. This is where I've been my whole life, 40 years, retire. Like, and that's who I'm going to have. That's my
Yeah. The
identity.
pension or the,
Yeah.
yeah.
And like the security that comes with it. But I think if the last couple of years taught us anything, it's that security is a construct that falls all the time. And
Right.
that's another mindset in and of itself. Feeling secure
Mm.
is just a perspective. There's no
Right.
actual security in anything that we're doing.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I relish the time when I can look back and I can sit back and relax and look at everything that I've done, but also look at what my children are accomplishing because of the example that I set. And I love that that's exactly what you're doing.
Thank you. No, I think, and that's why I focused on, wanting to pursue like a fulfilled life, like getting to your 80s, 90s, early hundreds, like, and looking back and like, no, I gave that my all. I did what I thought I was supposed to do. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I feel that with my marriage, like I've told my husband, like, listen, I've given, if anything happens, I know that I gave 110%. Like there would be no regrets because I gave it all. And I realized that I didn't really feel that on my overall life perspective. And I was like, no, like life is too, I mean, we're in medicine, life can change in an instant. Like the ability to see, to speak, to talk, to feed myself, to read, it's something that we take for granted. And even that, it's like, oh, you don't have to go that deep, but it's like, no, like even from that to like, no, I want to be a paid public speaker and I want to be a very
Mhm.
successful life coach, even though I went a different direction. Like everything is possible. You just have to like start with the thought of giving yourself the permission to even dream about it. And a lot of us are going about our lives thinking that we need to deserve to think a certain thought to then pursue a certain thing. And it's like it's all backwards.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk a little bit about your target niche and your audience. How did you come about serving those specific people?
hmm So, and then with choosing this niche, I did have a little bit of drama because I was like, well, I don't I had initially the thought that I had to do work. I was like, oh, is this kind of reverse racism? Is focusing only on a specific population? And it was really about being exclusively inclusive and what space that I want to create. And like I said, I am passionate about wanting to dismantle the patriarchy and white supremacy and really highlighting how that can impact the way you think about yourself and how you create internal safety within yourselves. And that kind of conversation is that needs to happen with the BIPOC community. And I wanted to focus my energy and space on that. Not that I have any ill will or want to ruin a relationship with white bodied people. It's just my energy and passion is with the BIPOC community because that's why I want to focus on. And not that we're always going to, always want to talk about internalized oppression, but that is a component that is, I feel like that is often missing in coaching containers because yes, we want to treat everyone the same, but not everyone's starting from the same um, starting point. And that's when we want to incorporate more equity-based practices. And it's just creating that intentional space to address that, to provide what the client needs wherever they're coming from. And I want to be that person for them.
So what would you say is we're going to get into the weeds here. What would you say is
Sure.
the biggest thing, the biggest block in the BIPOC community?
The biggest block in the BIPOC community. So it depends. So we don't want to necessarily make like a general overarching
Right.
statement. At least the block that I'm having, and it doesn't necessarily pertain to the BIPOC community, is just clearing up my message so that they hear me. And one of the other things I wanted to focus on the BIPOC community is to make sure that they know that I'm talking to them. Because in the life coaching space, it's more, the majority of life coaches are white women. And majority of the participants, I mean, it is definitely increasing depending on what coaching space you're in, but a majority of participants in the life coaching space in general is white, are white women. So not only highlighting my niche, like for my reasons, but also like, hey, I'm specifically talking to you. If you identify as this message is for you, because a lot of us count ourselves out because we think the person is talking to someone else and we think the information doesn't apply. So I wanted to just take that handles that, but it's more about not uh not hearing the message of the person that's trying to send you. So that's what I'm working on is how can I clear up my messaging and make it more clear and make it more impactful to inspire and compel my audience to want to work with me.
Awesome. What type of person needs a life coach? If I'm sitting at home watching this, or I'm wherever I'm at, like what makes me say, okay, I should get a life coach?
So there's three different type of people. Is the first person that like is like, no, like probably life coaching sounds silly, or oh, that would be nice for someone else. And then there's the intermediate person that's like, oh, I that would be nice to do this. I wonder how they could help me with this. And then the third person is like, no, for sure. I've been trying this and I can't get the result that I want. And I want to hire someone to see my blind spots. And it's more working about, because you don't, some people will say, oh, everyone needs a life coach. And the intention is well, but if you apply it to the first person, they will look at life coaching as more like their hero, and a coach is not their hero or not their boss or not their accountability partner. The person gets to saves themselves, has agency over their own life, and you have to be in the mental space to be able to invest in yourself and the growth and the time and the money to want to expand your mind, because it takes intentionality and it is uncomfortable. It's like strengthening a muscle, only you're strengthening your mind. So it's the person that like, no, I'm ready to up level my life. I want to change. I'm sick of my own shit and I want to change something about it. So I'm ready to work with someone. That would be the person to hire a coach.
And how would people get in contact with you if they were looking to hire you as their life coach?
With me, so I am on Instagram majority, but I do have a website, themissingpiececoach.com. So piece as in the puzzle piece. And then if you just go to the top right corner, it says work with me, and then you book a free consultation. And then it's a 60-minute call, and then we would discuss what you're working through, what your goals are, and how I can help.
Awesome. How many clients do you take on at a time?
So it depends on the season that I'm in. Currently, I can take up to 15.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And it's all one-on-one, or you do group settings and stuff as well? Group settings.
For now, it's one-on-one. In the future, I do want to do groups. I do want to do retreats, but focusing on one-to-one right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm blown away by just your vision and where you're going with this and where you're trying to take it. Not just because of, you becoming a life coach, but because of what that means to you and because of the why you're doing it and what's coming from it. And the fact that now your daughter is going to be able to see a whole different lifestyle because mom took a leap of faith and decided to be her true, authentic self. I love that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
You're welcome.
You. Thank you.
Again, thanks for coming on, and I will see you soon.
Yeah. Bye. Thanks.
Bye.